It is a Wednesday, which means that it's time to speak to our old buddy Brian Wilson, our friend and radio buddy. Hey, Brian, how are you?
Good morning to you, Dano.
So there's a lot going on. Let's get right to it. First of all, Todd Starnes has been tweeting out that, and he's based out of Memphis, that Memphis will be the next city where the president sends in the National Guard. So,
well, listen, that's a big story, and look, he got a good ruling out of L.A. that said he can do what he wants to do with regard to this. So, I think we're going to be seeing more of that. But Memphis is a dangerous place. A really dangerous place. And I'm glad to see that we're doing it, and I'm glad to see him take on this issue because, look, it's a great issue, number one. It's the right thing to do. What is the number one job of government is to provide public safety. And when the government fails you on the local level to do that, you got to have somebody who can step up and take care of the issue, and I'm glad to see Trump do this. And apparently the Supreme Court is giving him all of the running room he needs to do it.
And you know what? That is obviously a very good thing because, number one, I don't think, and you've covered presidents for many, many, many years, do you think there's ever been a president that has the testicular fortitude, if you will, of a Donald Trump to actually send in the National Guard to take care of this issue?
I am so impressed with how he is handling himself in this second administration. In the first administration, I had issues with the way he comported himself on the stage, but that shooting in Butler, Pennsylvania, I think it really changed Donald Trump. And it sobered his thinking, and I think he's become, because of that, a more thoughtful individual and a better president. And I think he's winning, and it's just driving the Democrats nuts.
Well, it is, and you look at what's going on in Chicago. So I think they've done, Operation Midway?
Midway, yeah.
Midway. But it's been, a few days now, and I have not necessarily seen any great resistance going on in Chicago. I mean, you've got Mayor Pritzker, I should say Mayor Johnson and Governor Pritzker, and they're mouthing off like they do. But I have not seen any great uprising like they've wanted.
This is what I detected in D.C. when I was there the other day, is that, there are some people who are raising hell about it. The mayor of D.C. is not raising hell about it. First of all, she's working hand in hand with the Trump administration, which is amazing. Number two, the citizenry that I talked to, and I talked to a wide swath of, people who are liberal and people who are moderates and people who are conservative when I was there, and I didn't hear anybody say it's a horrible thing. I heard people say, man, I'm glad he's doing it because, this city was getting out of control.
Okay, I'm sorry. Sam was talking to me in my headphones, so I apologize for that
right.
Awkward silence. All right, so a couple of other things, just real quick. This morning, Poland says they just going all over the world. Poland has said that they have shot down some Russian drones in Poland.
In Poland, Polish airspace. Yep. NATO has engaged in an aggressive action against drones sent from Russia into Poland. This raises the alarm bells considerably.
Yep.
What is Russia up to? Was it just, as sometimes you do in the military, test of let's see how they respond. Let's send some drones over there and see how they respond so that you know what their response is going to be. I don't know, one way or the other, it is an egregious act on the part of Russia, and it changes the game with Putin as far as Trump can't stand by and do nothing about this.
Yep, no. But okay, so let me ask you this. Number one, I think, and you actually have drones, so there is no, well, let me ask it this way. Is there a possibility that those drones just accidentally wandered into Poland's airspace?
The way that the wording on it is that there was little doubt where these drones were being sent. I mean, from the time they launched to the time they were shot down, they were on a straight track into Poland. Is the way you read it, and it maybe they'll claim that, but I don't think it's a very credible claim.
So what does Donald Trump do then? I mean, he's got to show some force. First of all,
well, he's been on the bubble about doing something economically against Russia, and I think that's probably his next step. I would not be surprised if there were some kind of announcement in the next day or so about some kind of financial. What do you want? What's the
sanctions.
word I want to? Yeah, sanctions
and secondary sanctions.
Right. Yeah, I think that's probably the most likely thing to happen.
Are we of the agreement, Brian, that it is clear that Vladimir Putin has no interest in any kind of peace talks with Ukraine?
Well, he sure doesn't seem to be. I mean, he seems to be saying the right words to Trump on occasion, but then the actions suggest that that it's not working, or Putin is really truly not in control of his own military. That's the other option. None of them are good.
Let's go to Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah,
a horrible story.
That story. When you see the video, and I did watch the video, and I really regret that I did. It is a heinous and brutal and unprovoked attack. And sad. I mean, really sad. What's really sad is after the attack, he walks away, and she's still conscious for a while.
Yeah, nobody does anything.
Nobody does anything. I mean, I don't know that anybody saw what happened, but I mean, my goodness, how could you miss it? But one way or the other, this guy had 14 previous arrests. His mother says he's a schizophrenic. What in the hell is this guy doing on the street?
Well, the mother even asked the authorities there, keep him in custody.
Do something with him. He needs to be, in an insane asylum somewhere.
Do you know what's so frustrating?
And again, we come to this whole issue about mental health in America, and I do think we are woefully lacking in our capacity to help people with mental issues.
And this has got to be something that either Trump or if J.D. Vance ends up in the White House, God willing, after 2028. This is something that the president and the Republicans have got to handle. I mean, there is clearly a need. Coming up, Brian, we're going to talk a little bit about these judges, or if you want to call them magistrates, who are working, effectively as a judge, but they don't have any law degrees. So a couple of things, Brian. First of all, I want to let folks know that Scott Cepicky, State Rep Scott Cepicky, is going to join us at 7:36 because Tennessee is on the list of states that do allow these no law degree magistrates, but it's under very strict guidelines. And so coming up at 7:35, 7:36, he'll be on to talk a little bit about what those guidelines are because it does vary by state. It would appear. So that's going to be clarified for all of us coming up at 7:36 on Super Talk 99.7. But, Brian, I got to ask, number one, you probably knew that there were these lower-level judges or magistrates, whatever, that didn't have law degrees. I think a lot of people were surprised by that, though.
Well, in Texas, this is an old tradition. We have a thing called a justice of the peace. And these guys don't have law degrees. And they, I remember as a young reporter, we call them JPs. They had to run for re-election. And so they were always courting the favor of the media, right? So they were called out when there were murders and shootings and that kind of stuff. And they also handled a traffic court. When you got a ticket, you had to go before the JP to get it adjudicated. And I like these guys, and I have some fond feelings about people who are not lawyers being involved in that process. I like it, but by and large, and I don't know how it plays out in the state of Tennessee, but in Tennessee, there seems to be some concern about this, and I don't know exactly what the concern is based upon. What happened that triggered it?
One of the things as I look at all of this, of course, there's one thing to blame. Well, two things to blame, obviously. Democrats and their soft on crime policies, cashless bail. I spoke to Senator Marsha Blackburn yesterday. She is introducing or has introduced legislation to ban cashless bail on a national level, which I think would obviously be great. But, for me, I think that it all boils down to the soft on crime policies. That is like, the umbrella with which a lot of these other policies fall under. And it is clear that these are destroying American communities.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And crime is going to be the issue of the midterms. You can just count on it. That's going to be it. And I think Donald Trump and his administration are doing the right things, and I think people will respond. I think the Democrats have really. I can't believe how dumb they're being. They're just being dumb. They're just really dumb. And Trump is just whomping them left and right.
Well, okay, so let me ask you this, and I don't want to get into a big commentary about the economy.
Right.
Because I know that there's so many different ways to talk about it. But, yesterday we found out that those jobless numbers have been. That's why, I was joking with Joan the other day. It's like, don't bother to report the jobless numbers because they'll be revised.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've never thought that the numbers were accurate or real.
Yep.
And I've always wondered about politicization of that process.
Mm-hmm.
And you remember that when this was all going on in the last days of the Biden administration, these numbers kept coming up, and I said, these numbers, I don't. They just don't feel right to me. They didn't, and they were wrong, and now they're being downwardly revised, which suggests that.
Oh, was it like? Did I read that right? Over 1 million over the last year or something?
Yeah, it's a huge revision, which means that the labor statistics were being juiced, were being worked on, worked over, and
that's why Donald
made a
Trump,
lot more favorable than they really were.
Yeah, and that's why Trump, he fired, I forget the woman's name, but he fired the woman in charge of the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
Right.
He's trying to put in a guy who I've interviewed many times, E.J. Antoni, as the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. But I guess my question is this. Is the economy good or bad? Like, we got all the money from the tariffs coming in.
I think it's a hard one to try to gauge, really. I think it's pretty strong. There's a lot of things that are good in the economy. The jobless numbers are not as strong as you'd like to see, but apparently they haven't been, you're working from past numbers that were not accurate. So that has an impact on the numbers that come out today. And I think we're getting probably more accurate information now than we were before. And it may be that the economy was not as strong as we thought. All of this, I think, the real impact of it is potentially good.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be very hard for the Fed to say, we can't cut interest rates.
Hey, Brian,
we need to do that.
You used to live actually in Mount Juliet. This is where I used to. Mm-hmm. Have you heard that Mount Juliet actually has a new theme song?
No.
Yeah, they've got a new theme song, and it's so appropriate. You see this headline from Mount Juliet. They put out this release the other day about all the bad guys from Nashville they're arresting.
Yeah.
Because of the LPRs.
Yeah, now, the license plate readers are they're big on them there, and Wilson County's big on them as well. They're all over the place. If you're a criminal and you got some kind of warrant out there, do not come to Wilson County.
Yeah,
because they will arrest you.
Can you imagine?
They will pick up your license plate and you will be arrested.
Now it's interesting because I read this whole thing. So Lebanon's getting a bunch of guys. Mm-hmm. Mount Juliet, of course, getting a lot of guys, and Fox 17 has this whole story, and we're running short on time. Basically, though, what is happening is they're not LPRs or not in Nashville. The mayor, O'Connell, is pointing his finger at the Metro Council. The Metro Council is pointing their, crooked little fingers at Mayor O'Connell. And it's like, okay, so why can't
everybody... And the police, in the meantime, are being denied a tool that can do great good in the city of Nashville.
This is the thing.
I know a lot of people have problems about these license plate readers. I do not. And I think it is a public safety tool that has proven that it can be managed in a proper way by a lot of different entities, including Mount Juliet, including other law enforcement agencies in our region. And we ought to be on this. And because, again, what's the number one job of government? Public safety. And this is a great way get criminals off the street. The problem is in Nashville, they don't really want to take the criminals off the street.
No, they don't.
Very quick, can I just throw out that I love the story? It's very fascinating about what's happening with this UAP, this UFO. There was a congressional hearing, and we were tracking one of these orbs, one of these Tic Tacs, and we shot at it and hit it with a drone, and it just bounced off. And the thing just continued.
So we sent a Hellfire missile to knock one of these things down, and it just
sort
bounced
of bumped
off?
it, and that was it. It just kept right on going.
Hold on. So Sam has actually sent me the video of this, so I'm going to put this on YouTube, and I find it interesting. So it just bounced off?
Yeah, it bounced off, and I mean, again, there's so much UAP news out there. It makes you wonder if perhaps we're not ready. The government's not preparing us to know a few things that we need to know. But
what do you think's going to happen?
We better pray that those are ours.
You said this is one of the orbs. Is this one of the Tic Tac ones?
Yeah, sort of like a Tic Tac, right?
Okay, all right.
But we better pray these are ours, because that's a scary technology.
Well, okay,
whatever it is.
Didn't you and I talk about this way back when? So what happens if, like, which is worse? That these are like, outer space type aliens, or if it's like the Chinese? Like,
well,
which would be worse?
If it's from outer space, the one I would say, I think that they are, my personal opinion, if they are from outer space, I think they are, in a way, drones. I don't think they're manned. I think they're here as probes to study us, etc. But I'm beginning to lean toward this is man-made technology, and we better pray that it's our technology, because if the Chinese have that technology,
we're in trouble.
If the Russians have that technology, if anybody else in the world has that technology, we're in trouble.
Yeah, I'm looking at this video now, and it kind of sort of knocks it off course.
Right.
But it just keeps on going, Sam.
Yeah, Brian, you need to watch The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. It's a show on the History Channel that they're diving into this stuff. The physics are not possible on this earth is their conclusion.
Yep.
Yeah. It's really quite amazing. Quite amazing. By the way, I'm going to be doing a big 7th Congressional District debate. You know, we got a congressional race there to replace Mark Green. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be doing a debate as the moderator on the 15th. At Franklin Community of Faith Church of the Nazarene. And I think, if you're interested in that particular race, it's being sponsored by the Republican Party of Williamson County. Mm-hmm. I'd love for people. Starts at 7 o'clock, Franklin Community of Faith Church of the Nazarene in Franklin.
And you are going to try to lasso how many candidates?
I think as I understand it, when I talked to them yesterday, the number is now at 10.
Wow. Okay.
But it'll be an interesting debate, and we'll have a good time. And if you're interested in that particular rate, we'd love for you to come by.
Yeah, me and Matt Murphy both going to be there at the City Winery tomorrow. Really, really looking forward to that event. The annual Patriot Awards dinner, full of incredible camaraderie and appreciation for everything our military heroes have done for our country. And I've been talking about this event for quite some time now. So I would definitely encourage you, if you want to come on out, hang out with me and Matt Murphy. It's tomorrow night. You can get tickets at jhp.givesmart.com. Actually, don't let me forget, Sam. I've got a pair of tickets to give away to that event, and I've got to do it today. So make a note and make sure I do that.
Okay. It's your responsibility, Sam.
Pressure's on, Sam.
Yeah.
Scott Cepicky is joining us on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Scott, always great to have you on. And we were talking earlier about the situation with these judges across the country in various states at various degrees, where they're magistrates and they don't have a law degree. And this is something that really has come to light with the horrific murder in North Carolina. So I want to just find out, what is the official policy, if you will, here for the state of Tennessee? Our name, the state of Tennessee, has been on a list of these states that do this across the country. And, I mean, before we go screaming and hollering about all this, I know that we do this, but what are the guidelines, the guardrails, and what's the official policy?
Well, Dan, thanks for allowing me to come on. Let's start with who the magistrate works for. And the magistrate works for the General Sessions judge in most cases. They're the ones who hire the magistrates. They're the ones that are responsible for the judicial, I guess, for what the judges do. They have to answer to the General Sessions judge, the magistrates, and the magistrates in Tennessee do fall under judicial review of professional conduct. Now, that being said, there really is a lot of latitude for the general sessions judges on these magistrates. But normally what you find in Tennessee is most of these are retired law enforcement who have a understanding of the law. And these magistrates, Dan, you have to remember, they're really only adjudicating misdemeanors, and normally very low misdemeanors. Anything with a felony would be kicked automatically to either a circuit or for sure a general sessions judge.
And Scott, what I've seen is different policies across the country. For example, in North Carolina, this particular guy had been in and out of prison, arrested 14 times. His latest infraction was that he had misused the 911 system. And I don't know if that's a felony or a misdemeanor in the state of North Carolina, but that's the one where this magistrate basically made, I laugh about this, made him write a note that said that he would return for his next court hearing. And that's why she allowed him to be released with no bail, cashless bail. And he was, of course, then free to do what he did on that light rail. So are these, as far as you know, and this may be an unfair question, but are these policies fairly consistent across the country, or does each state have their own, very distinct and different policies?
Yes, you're right, Dan. It is 50 different states with different guidelines when it comes to magistrates and the level of qualifications. But once again, remember that general sessions judge who brings them on, they are basically responsible for what they're doing, and they can come in under judicial review for people that they put in there. Normally, like I said, these are misdemeanors that the magistrates are hearing with court cases less than 11 months and 29 days. Anything over that either has to go to circuit or has to go to a general sessions judge that, like a felony, may have been pleaded down to a misdemeanor. And
did they take the whole of the person's criminal history to decide whether or not they're going to send him to jail or whatever it is that they're going to do? But do they take, okay, he committed a misdemeanor here, but he spent this time in prison, and he's committed other felonies which he's had to plead down? In other words, do they look at the whole criminal resume of the person before them, or are they just isolated to that one misdemeanor that he is in front of that magistrate for?
Well, yes, they do look at the entire background of that individual. I've been sitting in court watching the general sessions judges, and they'll have repeat offenders in there that they'll be like out on bond or out on bail or out on other circumstances, and then they come back into the court, and then the judge has the latitude to put a stiffer fine, stiffer sentence, or escalate it if they want to. And so it's perplexing, Dan, that how does an individual with these many problems keep getting tossed through the system? And I was listening to you and Brian talk about mental health facilities and the need for mental health facilities. And I want to give kudos to the Trump administration with coming out with a grant program that's going to allow states to pull federal money down to help build inpatient mental health facilities in our country. And that is a huge step forward in addressing this problem.
It is a huge step, and I love that the president is doing that. I don't know how long you've been listening. Scott Cepicky is joining us. But Todd Starnes is out there in Memphis, is posting on social media, giving hints that Memphis may be next. Now, obviously bringing in the National Guard and so forth. And, I know that this is a long time conversation between, Republicans about the crime in Memphis and all of the problems in Memphis. Got any thoughts just as a state representative of, whether or not the president should, along with, of course, Governor Lee coordination? I mean, Governor Lee can send the National Guard in himself. So what would that dynamic be? I mean, in your opinion, would Governor Lee be asking for maybe some additional funds from the president? Or, how do you see that whole thing playing out? Because the governor himself can send the National Guard into Memphis.
Well, 100% right. So there are many things that the governor can do before the National Guard would be activated. We can send more state troopers into Memphis. We can send TBI. We can send state Homeland Security. We can partner with ICE with the 287G programs. There's a lot of levers Governor Lee can pull before he would have to mobilize the National Guard of Tennessee. And I think what you see, Dan, is the National Guard really isn't a police force, but they're a security weapon that you could use in parts of Memphis that don't really have a crime problem, that you could put the National Guard, if it reached that escalation in there, to let Memphis pull those police officers out of those areas and put them into the high crime areas to enforce law and really crack down on it really hard. You would use the National Guard as a resource to provide logistics and support.
And that makes all the sense in the world. Yeah, absolutely. It makes sense. And if there's one town that needs it in this state, it's Memphis, of course, Nashville as well. And we'll see ultimately what happens here in the state of Tennessee.
But hey, let me throw this in there real quick. I'm a big 10th Amendment guy, Dan, about state sovereignty.
Yep.
And I understand what Trump did in Washington, D.C. We all do, right? That's our nation's capital. Mm-hmm. He has authority to make sure that area is safe. But I don't know if we want the president arbitrarily sending federal troops in the cities across the country without the governor asking for that help.
Right. And that's the big question. That's what's going on or maybe going on in Chicago. Of course, we've all been talking about this, but the president sending in ICE to see if there's any kind of fierce resistance. And if so, that does give him the justification, some say, to send in the National Guard. So we'll have to see how this whole thing plays out. And you are right about that 10th Amendment. I had Hans von Spakovsky on the other day to talk about that a lot. One quick thing, if I could, Scott Cepicky. So this is Mount Juliet's new theme song is, Bad Boys, the theme to Cops, because, of course, they have been utilizing LPRs and catching a whole bunch of bad guys also in Lebanon as well, Wilson County, where they embrace LPRs. Fox 17 had a story, they updated it last night, and it's this thing going on in Nashville. So clearly LPRs, license plate readers, clearly they do work. And Nashville just simply refuses to use them. And the story from Fox 17 is one that we've all covered, especially Murphy's show, where you've got the Metro City Council and the mayor basically pointing fingers at each other as to why Nashville doesn't utilize these LPRs. And I mean, to me, if you want to fight crime and you want to catch these bad guys, you use LPRs, but Nashville doesn't seem to want to use them.
Well, we took a vote, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago, in the General Assembly authorizing the license plate readers to be used in conjunction with like a criminal offense, like a kidnapping or an endangered child alert, that we could instantaneously mobilize all the cameras looking for a license plate and find that individual. And we've had tremendous success on that. I think the license plate readers do have a place when it comes to, hey, we're looking for a particular car with a license plate number of this that was in the commission of a crime. Mm-hmm. It gives law enforcement another level of ability and resources to help do their job. And as long as you have strict guidelines on how they can and cannot be used, I think they have a place in law enforcement.
Is there anything the state legislature can do to sort of override the city of Nashville? That may be a silly question, but that's what I'm known for.
Well, if you look at Nashville and you look at Memphis on the trajectory of crime that they're heading in, number 1 in the country and number 8 in the country is not where, as citizens, we want our major metropolitan cities to be. And I would probably look at suggesting to them they take very quickly corrective action, or the General Assembly will.
All right. Thank you very much. Always great to have you on, Scott Cepicky, and you come on last minute all the time. I so appreciate it, and you have a great rest of the day and afternoon.
You too, Dan.
All right, man. See you.
What about night? Does he get to have a good night, too?
Shut up, Joan.
Okay, just checking.
That was very Cory Booker-esque of you to yell at her like that.
What? Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
It's that toxic masculinity that just oozes from the radio. Do you know what my problem is? I don't have. How much time do we have?
Yeah.
I need a standard like have a good day. That's what I should say. Have a good day. Not have a good morning. Not have a good afternoon. It's not afternoon yet. I need like a standard. Good
Appreciate
day.
you being here.
I did say that too,
see.
but you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like a signature.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. My signature statements are always just, shanking it. Like that's what that's what people always bring up. Hey, by the way, I got a question because we've got a second here.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody asked me, they follow me on the Twitter, on X, but they say that my posts are not showing on their feed. And I'm very active on Twitter or X. I'm very active on X these days. And he says that he's not seeing my feed. Now, over the past couple of months, because I've gotten really active on social media, I've actually had quite a bit of an influx of people following me on the socials. So anybody know why? Maybe the super text line can chime in on this. Why they would, because they follow me at Dan Mandis Show. They follow me and they're saying that they're not seeing my feed. I don't know what to tell them. You got any idea, Sam?
Maybe they accidentally muted your posts.
Yeah. Yeah.
You should check that.
Okay. I didn't know you could accidentally mute somebody.
Well, I mean, yeah, you can mute on all socials. You can mute like notifications for people's posts or even seeing their posts for a certain amount of time.
Okay.
I don't think we're back in the Jack Dorsey shadow ban days of Twitter.
Right.
So
right.
Maybe it's a them problem, not a you problem, Dan.
Okay, good, because I've got enough problems on my own.
Amen to that, brother.
Shut up, Joan. I'm just kidding. Everybody knows that I'm just kidding with Joan Jones. By the way, and I don't want to say anything now. Should I talk about what's going on with Chris Hand? Sam? I don't. Okay, I'm not going to yet. I'm going to let Chris make the announcement. It's a big thing with Chris Hand. We're going to announce it at 8:35. Did I just blow it?
Hang on. Sam knows something that I don't?
No. Just everybody just stop. Everybody stop. I can't talk about it now. I'm sorry.
But
8:35. Big announcement with Chris Hand.
hang on.
Mm-hmm.
Sam knows something that I don't. Like, I'm the news chick.
I don't know nothing, Joan.
7:52, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk. It's great news for Chris, though.